Hey guys, welcome to my video. Today I'll be talking about if I think Season 2 of Avatar: The Last Airbender is overrated. I made a video reviewing the first season of a show already, and I also talked about if I thought it was overrated or not, so feel free to check out that video if you want to. If you haven't seen Season 2 of Avatar: The Last Airbender yet, or Season 1, and if you care about spoilers, then please don't watch this video. It will contain heavy spoilers for the show. This is absolutely a show that would be good to go into fresh for. There's some shows that I don't think really matters because it's not really a good show to start off with, but this show, please don't get it spoiled. Just do yourself a favor and watch it before you can find spoilers for it. To figure out if a show is overrated, I'm going to compare my rating of a show to the scores it receives in places like Rotten Tomatoes and IMDb. To make my rating, I review what I think was good, what was bad, and what I think was ugly about a show or movie, and then I give it a certain number out of 10 rating. Also, I know I said this in my review of Season 1, this is just a reminder that my opinion is definitely not the say-all be-all. I'm wrong a lot of the time, and there's nothing wrong with disagreeing with me on something. Feel free to comment if I said something stupid. Anyways, let's start talking about what I liked about Season 2 of Avatar: The Last Airbender. There are a ton of things I loved about this season. To start, I just want to say that the cinematography is awesome. I've been taking a film class which helps me pay attention to the fancy stuff I never really used to like this in movies, things like chiaroscuro and shot reverse shot. One scene I love is when Azula is cornered by Aang, Katara, Zuko, Iroh, Sokka, and Toph. Iroh unfortunately gets taken out of the equation by Azula, then we get this great shot of Aang, Katara, Zuko, and Toph all shooting at Azula. It shows all four nations coming together to fight a common enemy, and it's really good. It doesn't outright say that all four nations are coming together, but it shows it, and when you pay attention to stuff like that, there's even more moments in the show that are just great like that. If I talked more about things like that, this video would be 2 hours long though, so I'll move on to more plot central things I enjoyed about this season. I'll admit that in the first season, I didn't really care about the whole romance between Aang and Katara, but in the second season, I'm invested in it. The Cave of Two Lovers episode was really good in my opinion, and that sort of got me interested in their potential romance that the show keeps building up to. This season had a lot of build-up, which could get a little boring, but the payoff made it so worth it. This is why I don't like how more recent shows have such short seasons. A season with a length like this of 20 episodes is perfect. When Appa gets kidnapped, he's gone for a big chunk of a season, which at first I wasn't a fan of, but I've completely flipped on my stance about that. Appa being lost for so long makes him actually feel lost, and it is so rewarding when we get an entire episode dedicated to what he's been up to. The whole arc developed Appa's character so much he's transformed from just a helpful bison who flies everyone around to a great and layered character. I love that episode of Appa because he didn't say anything, but we know so much about him, and we knew so much of what was going on through his head without any dialogue, and that was really impressive that the show did this. I love how Toph went from being an outsider to a great member of a group in just a few episodes. The producers of the show knew it would take some time to get to know Toph, and we got plenty of time. At first I was a little bit conflicted about her, but by the end of the season I liked her just as much as any other member of a group. I think it's a great lesson for people watching that show that just like Toph, you can still be great even if you have some sort of disability. Another thing I liked about Season 2 of Avatar was that it felt so much more continuous than Season 1. Season 1 had a lot of one-off episodes that felt very episodic, and they didn't really have a payoff until this season. But most of the episodes in Season 2, they really felt connected instead of Season 1. Some Season 1 episodes felt like ones you could miss and still be okay and be fine, but I don't think I can name one episode from this season you would be fine missing. Even an episode like Tales of Ba Sing Se, something that based on the title and premise seems like it might just be a fun and filler episode, is a very emotional one and develops every character who's featured in it. It's actually my favorite episode of a show so far. I thought I had a hot take there, but it turns out like everyone else agrees that this episode was great. Iroh's tale is really sad and it almost made me cry. It made me have one of those moments where you can tell you're about to cry and you get chills, and it was good. I liked feeling that way when a show can make me that invested and connected to the characters. I had another one of those moments in the Appa episode. This season as a whole was very emotional. I'm fully invested in this show, especially compared to how I was in Season 1. I can only imagine that Season 3 will be even better based on what my friends have told me. I have heard nothing but good things about Season 3 from all my friends who have seen this show. When I'm watching something I'm going to review, I tend to think about good things and bad things before I start writing all my opinions down. Like, I think of this when I'm watching it, in the moment. I was going to talk about how predictable a show was, blah blah blah, and all that stuff until the ending. I was going to criticize that, but I was not at all expecting the end. Azula and Zuko capturing Ba Sing Se was really unexpected, and I definitely wasn't expecting Zuko to betray his uncle. Just when I thought Zuko was going to be good, he wasn't. And sure, maybe some of the earlier things in the season were a little bit predictable. I can't say this whole season was predictable because of that ending. It was incredible. And getting struck by Azula's lightning was shockingly perfect. It was a devastating moment. Even though you knew Aang wasn't gonna die, it was still sad. I like how when Aang is healed by Katara's special water after that, it's something that was already established earlier on in this show when Katara got stuck with Zuko. Because if not, it would have been weird if Katara had just healed such a bad injury out of nowhere with this magical water she pulled out of wherever. I guess we knew Katara had the special water because of the season 1 finale. I don't remember her getting it there, but I guess she did. But Katara and the scene with Zuko was a great reminder that the special water was there. Finally, I felt that the animation in this season was even better than the first. Maybe they had a bigger budget, I don't know, but everything just looked so much more fluid and more charming than ever. A lot of the action was even better as well. Now to talk about one of the two main criticisms I have for this season. I feel like Sokka was somewhat sidelined. He was still a main character, for sure, but it still feels like there was less of him in this season. I think the reason for that is because Toph was here, and she's in the group now, and she's a great character, but I do miss Sokka. I guess it's the price to pay for having an addition to a group. You can't keep the screen time and keep high screen time with everyone because there's only so much time in a season. Besides that, Sokka just feels kind of weak because he's not a bender, and you kind of feel bad for him. When Toph is new to a group, she actually says that Sokka isn't a fighter, or she doesn't count him as a fighter, which is sad because Sokka tries so hard to be a fighter, and then he keeps getting overshadowed by all these benders. And I guess it makes sense because he's not a bender, but still, it makes me kind of sad, and I don't really like that aspect of the season. My one and only big complaint about this season has to do with the villains. Ty Lee and Mei are basically Azula's sidekicks and nothing more. In a show where almost every main character has tons of development, these two have almost nothing. They feel like caricatures. Ty Lee is a gymnastics girl and Mei is dark and broody. They stick out like sore thumbs compared to pretty much everyone else who is so developed. I hope we find out more about these two characters in Season 3, and I'm pretty confident we will, because this show seems like it knows what it's doing. In this season, they were okay. I didn't think they were bad. None of these criticisms I have, two criticisms, are too big of deals. I think this show is really good. I have so many good things to say, and I could only think of two bad things that weren't absolute nitpicks. Anyways, that's it for my Season 2 review of Avatar: The Last Airbender. This show is so good, and I can't wait to watch the next season. So far, this is one of the best shows I've ever seen. I loved this season. In this season, we see the world of Avatar really expand. We meet plant benders and sand benders, and it's really interesting. But it's great too because things stayed charming, and they stayed character central. I've seen a lot of shows where as they expand, it loses that magic touch. But Avatar did not have this problem. Now, to talk about if this season was overrated or not, let's look at how people are rating it. On Rotten Tomatoes, as you can see, Season 2 has a 100% critic score and a 99% audience score. On Metacritic, Avatar has a 9.5. I couldn't find an IMDb score for a season as a whole, but by calculating the average score of every episode, the score is about an 8.8. Based on all this, I'm going to say that Avatar: The Last Airbender Season 2 isn't overrated. It might actually be a bit underrated. I think the IMDb score is way too low, and the Rotten Tomatoes score is a bit too high, and the Metacritic score was a tiny bit too low. The average of all of these scores equals 94%, about, which I think is underrated. According to these scores, this show isn't overrated. I really do think this show is underrated. I rate Avatar: The Last Airbender Season 2 a 97%, which is above the average of 94%, so I do not think Season 2 of Avatar: The Last Airbender is overrated. So, thanks for watching, guys. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video because it would really mean a lot. Make sure to tell me if there are any movies or shows you'd like to see me review next, and I will see you in the next video.